Look, I'm going to level with you right from the start. The Valorian Empire thought they had it all figured out. They really did. 300 star systems under their belt, a military tradition spanning 12,000 years, and enough ceremonial armor to open a museum dedicated entirely to things that look intimidating but are incredibly impractical in actual combat. They had battle doctrines, strategic frameworks, honor codes that filled 17 volumes, and a really impressive habit of announcing their intentions before doing literally anything. So naturally, when they detected the Sol system and its single inhabited planet, they figured this would be, and I quote from the actual Imperial Dispatch, a trivial annexation requiring minimal military expenditure. Spoiler alert, they were so catastrophically wrong that their word for miscalculation gained 4 new syllables. The Valorian scout fleet jumped into Earth's orbit on a Tuesday. This is important because humans are already irritable on Mondays, slightly recovering on Tuesdays, and therefore in that special zone of annoyed enough to care, caffeinated enough to do something about it. The timing couldn't have been worse for the Valorians. Well, actually, it could have been worse. They could have arrived during football season. Commander Zephrix of the Imperial Scout Division broadcasted his message in 17 languages, which was very considerate of him, really. The message was basically, your standard, we're here, you're primitives, please surrender, and we promise to only exploit you moderately package deal that the Empire had used successfully on 73 previous occasions. The response from Earth came exactly 4 minutes later. New phone, who dis? Zephrix stared at the transmission for a good 30 seconds. His tactical officer, a decorated veteran named Callus who had fought in the Borderland Wars, leaned over and whispered, "Sir, I believe that may be what their preliminary studies called sarcasm. It's listed as a common human defense mechanism." Defense mechanism? Zephrix's neck frills flared in confusion. It's just words, confusing words, but still. Oh, if only he had paid attention to that last part. If only he had opened the preliminary reports prepared by the xenopsychology team. If only he had read past page 1, which, to be fair, did say in big bold letters, "Warning, humanity displays alarming psychological irregularities. Proceed with extreme caution and possibly therapy." But Zephrix was a military man of tradition, and the Valorian military tradition was approximately 12,000 years old, which meant it was about 11,950 years outdated. So he did what any self-respecting Imperial commander would do. He issued an ultimatum with a 48-hour deadline and settled in to watch the primitives panic. The primitives did not panic. Instead, Earth's response came from an organization calling itself the United Nations Defense Council, which sounded official enough. The human who appeared on screen was wearing a military uniform, had gray hair, and introduced herself as General Rebecca Martinez. She looked professional, composed, and utterly reasonable. "Commander Zephrix," she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, "we've considered your proposal." "Excellent," Zephrix preened. "I knew you would see reason. The Empire is generous to those who surrender swiftly." "Oh, we're not surrendering," Martinez clarified, still smiling. "We're just considering the most efficient way to make you regret everything about this decision. Give us the 48 hours. We need time to pick our team." The transmission ended. Callus pulled up the psychological profile again. "Sir, it says here that humans have something called confidence born of ignorance, and that when threatened, they often respond with aggression disproportionate to their capabilities. They have approximately 400 aerospace fighters and no faster-than-light capability," Zephrix scoffed. "What are they going to do? Throw rocks at us really hard?" "If there's one thing I need you to understand about humans, it's this. Never, ever, ever ask them what they're going to do. It's not a challenge. It's not rhetorical. They will take it as a personal mission to show you exactly what they're going to do in the most horrifying and creative way possible, and they will enjoy every second of it." The 48 hours passed. The Valorian fleet maintained orbit, running drills and preparing for what they assumed would be a brief and glorious combat action worthy of maybe 3 verses in the imperial battle hymns. What happened instead would require the Empire to create an entirely new category of military disaster. Earth's response came in the form of a single small craft that launched from somewhere in the North American continent. It broadcasted a simple message: we're sending up a diplomatic team to discuss terms. Diplomatic team, those were the words used. Keep that in mind. The craft docked with the flagship, and Zephrix magnanimously agreed to meet with Earth's representatives in the main conference hall. He brought an honor guard of 40 soldiers, all in full ceremonial armor, because nothing says, "We're serious," like soldiers who can barely move under the weight of decorative metal plating. The airlock opened, and 6 humans walked through. They were not wearing diplomatic robes. They were wearing combat fatigues in a disturbing camouflage pattern that seemed to hurt the eyes if you looked at it too long. Each one carried equipment that ranged from probably a weapon to definitely a weapon to, is that a shaped charge? The human in front was a woman with dark hair tied back in a ruthlessly tight bun, dark eyes that had seen things no therapy could fix, and a smile that made Zephrix's survival instincts start screaming in a language his conscious mind didn't understand. Her name tag read Torres. "Good afternoon," Torres said pleasantly. "I'm Captain Elena Torres, and this is Diplomatic Team 6. She gestured to her companions. "We're here to discuss your withdrawal from our space." Callus was furiously scrolling through his datapad. "Sir," he hissed, "the humans have a military unit designation system that uses numbers. Team 6 is not diplomatic. I repeat, Team 6 is not diplomatic." But it was already too late. "Withdrawal!" Zephrix drew himself up to his full height, which was impressive considering he had 4 legs. "I think you misunderstand the situation, Primitive. You are in no position to make demands." Torres's smile widened. "Oh, we're not making demands. We're making observations. See, my colleague here?" She nodded to a massive human male with facial scars and dead eyes. "Lieutenant Marcus Webb, he observed that your ship has 47 critical structural weak points. Would you like to know where they are?" "This is preposterous. We are the Valorian Empire. We have conquered 300 systems." "Yeah, and that's adorable," interjected another human, this one female with red hair and an expression that suggested she found violence hilarious. Her name tag read Chen. "But here's the thing about humans. We didn't conquer anyone. Know why? Because we were too busy conquering ourselves. For thousands of years, we got really, really good at the killing thing, like Olympic-level good. We wrote books about it. Books! We have more treatises on warfare than you have actual wars." A 4th human, lean and unsettlingly calm, spoke up. His name was Jackson. "We have a saying on Earth, never fight a war on 2 fronts. We've been fighting wars on 7 fronts simultaneously while having civil wars within the wars. We call that Tuesday." Zephrix was beginning to feel that this diplomatic meeting was not going according to protocol. "Remove these soldiers from my ship immediately." "Can't do that, Commander," Torres said, checking something on her wrist device. "See, you're holding us in what we call a hostile negotiation environment. That means we get to invoke Article 5 of our engagement protocols, which states, and I'm paraphrasing here, if someone's being a jerk, you can jerk back. That is not a real diplomatic article. You're right, it's a military one. Funny how you thought we were diplomats. Classic mix-up. Happens all the time." The 5th human, a quiet woman named Rodriguez, with eyes that tracked every movement in the room, spoke for the first time. "Commander, we've been aboard for 3 minutes and 17 seconds. In that time, I've identified kill zones covering 92% of this room, calculated optimal explosive placement for ship decompartmentalization, and counted the average response time of your guards at approximately 4.7 seconds. Do you know what humans can do in 4.7 seconds? I don't care what. Kill you 16.
Different ways. Each." She smiled. It was not comforting. "That's just me. Webb over there can probably do 25. He's an overachiever." Webb shrugged modestly. 28 on a good day. Zephrix turned to his honor guard. Arrest these humans. Nobody moved. Not because they were scared, mind you, but because the sixth human, a nondescript man named Patterson who had been standing at the back, had somehow, without anyone noticing, positioned himself next to the room's main power coupling with something in his hands that beeped ominously. That would be inadvisable, Commander, Patterson said in the tone of someone discussing the weather. This is a dead man's switch. If my heart stops, or if I release pressure, or if someone looks at me funny, which given the cultural differences is a real possibility, this device will overload your power grid and turn this entire section into what we technically classify as outside. You brought a bomb to a diplomatic meeting. Well, you brought 40 armed guards to a diplomatic meeting, Torres pointed out. We just wanted to match your energy. Speaking of which, we should probably discuss why you thought invading Earth was a good idea. The Empire does not invade. We integrate. We bring civilization to primitive worlds. Chen burst out laughing, like full-on doubled-over laughing. Oh God, oh that's good. Did you hear that, guys? They bring civilization. Wait, let me check something. She pulled out a data pad. Yeah, according to our surveillance of your empire, you still use physical currency. Your fastest ships take 6 weeks to cross your territory, and your idea of advanced medicine is bloodletting with extra steps. We had bloodletting 3,000 years ago, and we stopped because we figured out it was stupid. Our civilization is 12,000 years old. And our civilization is approximately 6,000 years old. But we've had 17 distinct technological revolutions in that time, Jackson said. You know what that means? It means we iterate, we improve, we adapt. What was your last major innovation? Silence. That's what I thought, Jackson continued. See, Commander, you stagnated, you got comfortable. You spent 12,000 years conquering primitives who couldn't fight back, and you started believing your own press releases. You forgot the cardinal rule of warfare. And what is that? Zephrix demanded. His pride stung. All 6 humans spoke in unison. Never start a fair fight. Torres stepped forward. Here's what's going to happen, Commander. You're going to take your fleet and leave our system. You're going to go back to your empire and tell them that Earth is off limits. You're going to make it very, very clear that humans are not interested in being integrated, civilized, or bothered. And if we refuse, then we stop being diplomatic. Torres's smile vanished, replaced by an expression of pure cold calculation. See, we prepared for your arrival. That 48 hours you gave us? We spent it very productively. Right now, there are 17 nuclear devices attached to your capital ships. The yield on each one is approximately 50 megatons. Do you know what a megaton is, Commander? Zephrix did not. It's the equivalent of 1 million tons of TNT explosive. And before you ask, yes, we tested these weapons on our own planet. Multiple times. We have an entire doctrine called mutually assured destruction, where the basic strategy is, if I can't win, nobody can. We built weapons designed to kill ourselves and then decided, maybe let's not, but we kept the weapons just in case. You're bluffing, Zephrix said, but his voice wavered. Rodriguez pulled out a detonator. Test me. There was a long, terrible silence. Webb spoke up, almost conversationally. You know what the scariest thing about humans is, Commander? It's not our weapons. It's not our tactics. It's that we genuinely don't know when to quit. We have this thing called spite that overrides our survival instincts. We'll blow up our own stuff just to make sure you don't get it. We'll fight battles we can't win because the alternative is boring. We've had soldiers hold positions against impossible odds, not because of orders, but because they were angry. We had a battle on Earth called Thermopylae, Chen added. 300 guys decided to fight an army of hundreds of thousands. They knew they'd die. They did it anyway, and we loved them for it so much that we've been retelling the story for 2,500 years. That's the kind of species you're dealing with. We make heroes out of our most suicidal members. Jackson pulled out his own data pad.
We also took the liberty of analyzing your military structure during these negotiations. Your chain of command has 17 redundant layers, which means decision-making is slow. Your weapons are optimized for ship-to-ship combat at medium range, which means you're vulnerable to close quarters and long-range attacks. Your fighters are fast but lightly armored. Your soldiers are trained for honor combat, which is adorable, but honor doesn't stop bullets. And, most critically, your entire fleet is running on a centralized computer network that uses quantum encryption. That network is unbreakable. Yeah, about that. Patterson, still holding his dead man switch, pulled out another device. We broke it. Took us about 6 hours. Turns out, when your encryption is 12,000 years old and hasn't been updated because tradition, it's basically a welcome mat for anyone with a decent AI. Right now, we have access to your navigation, communications, life support, and, hilariously, your food dispensers. We could make you all eat nothing but your equivalent of Brussels sprouts. Don't test us. Torres stepped closer to Zephrix, and her voice dropped to something quiet and absolutely terrifying. Commander, we are trying to be nice. We are trying to give you an out. Because if you force us to fight, we won't fight fair. We won't fight honorably. We will use every dirty, underhanded, psychotic tactic we've developed over 6,000 years of killing each other. We'll attack your supply lines. We'll hack your systems. We'll turn your own ships against you. We'll fight in ways you can't predict because we barely follow our own battle plans. We have a Special Forces motto, Webb added. It's from an old unit called the SAS. It says, "Who dares wins." But we have another motto, unofficial, that we like better. If you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough. That's who you're dealing with. Zephrix looked at his honor guard. They looked back at him with expressions that clearly said, "We are heavily armored, largely immobile, and suddenly very aware that these humans could kill us all before we took 3 steps." "This is not how civilized species conduct warfare," Zephrix said weakly. "That's because we're not civilized," Torres said cheerfully. "We're organized. There's a difference. Civilization is what you build during peacetime. Organization is what we do during war. And we are very, very good at war." Chen pulled up a holographic display. "Let me show you something fun. This is Earth's military history for the last century alone. World War I, 30 million dead. World War II, 70 million dead. Korea, 5 million dead. Vietnam, 3 million dead. Various other conflicts. Let's call it 20 million to be conservative. That's 128 million human beings dead in 100 years. And you know what we did after each one? We learned. We adapted. We built better weapons, better tactics, better strategies. Every single one of those conflicts taught us something new about killing efficiently. "You're monsters," Callis whispered. "No," Rodriguez corrected. "We're survivors. Monsters don't have a choice. We do. We choose violence when necessary, and we're necessary right now because you threatened our home. See, you made a crucial error in judgment. You thought humanity was just another primitive species. But we're not primitive, we're feral. There's a difference." Jackson expanded the hologram. "Here's our current military analysis of your fleet. You have 72 capital ships, 346 support vessels, and approximately 2,000 fighters. Looks impressive, right? Now let me show you what we've prepared in the last 48 hours. The hologram shifted to show Earth's orbital space. It was filled with thousands of small objects. "Kinetic kill vehicles," Jackson explained. "Basically, very fast rocks. Each one massing about 50 kilograms, each one moving at approximately 30 kilometers per second. Do you know what 50 kilograms at 30 kilometers per second does to a ship, Commander?" Zephrix shook his head. "Neither do we. We've never tested it on an actual target before. We've always wanted to. Please, give us an excuse." Torres held up a hand. "But wait, there's more. We also have approximately 600 orbital defense platforms armed with railguns, laser arrays, and missile pods. We have 47 submarines carrying nuclear missiles that can reach orbit. We have ground-based laser installations on 4 continents. And we have approximately 8 billion humans who are very, very annoyed that you interrupted their Tuesday. 8 billion soldiers? Zephrix croaked. Oh, no, 8 billion humans. Maybe 300 million of them are actual soldiers. The rest are civilians who, and this is the fun part, have access to approximately 400 million personal firearms. See, we have this thing called the Second Amendment, and while it causes a lot of internal problems, it does mean that a significant portion of our population is armed and cranky. Webb grinned. We have farmers with anti-materiel rifles. We have accountants who go to shooting ranges on weekends. We have grandmothers who could outshoot your honor guard with their eyes closed. If you try to invade Earth proper, you won't be fighting an army. You'll be fighting a heavily armed population with home field advantage and a cultural obsession with property rights. This is insanity. This is humanity, Torres corrected. We're the species that looked at the food chain and said, nah. We're the species that took wolves, literal apex predators, and turned them into pugs. We're the species that went to our own moon just to prove we could. We're the species that split the atom and then immediately wondered if we could use it to blow stuff up. Spoiler, we could. And we did. Chen was scrolling through her datapad. Oh, here's a fun one. We have a weapon called a cluster bomb. It's basically a bomb filled with smaller bombs that are filled with even smaller bombs. It's bombs all the way down. We have mines that jump out of the ground before exploding. We have bullets that explode after penetrating armor. We have missiles that can fly through doors. We have drones the size of insects. We have sonic weapons that make you poop yourself. We have chemical weapons that we banned ourselves from using because even we thought they were too horrible. You sensing a pattern here? You're trying to frighten me, Zephrix said. No, Patterson said, still holding his dead man switch. We're trying to educate you. Fear would be irrational. This is extremely rational. You came to our home uninvited. You threatened us. You gave us an ultimatum. And now we're politely explaining why that was a terrible idea. Rodriguez pulled up another display. Let's talk about asymmetric warfare. That's when a smaller force fights a larger one using unconventional tactics. We're really good at that. We have multiple historical examples. Vietnam, a technologically inferior force, defeated a superpower through guerrilla warfare. Afghanistan, multiple superpowers failed to conquer a bunch of guys in caves. The American Revolution, farmers with muskets defeated the most powerful military in the world at the time. We study these conflicts, we learn from them, we teach them in our schools. We also have something called special operations, Webb said. That's military speak for people who do terrible things in the dark so regular people can sleep safely at night. I'm one of them. So is everyone in this room. We're trained to operate behind enemy lines, sabotage infrastructure, assassinate targets, and generally make life miserable for anyone we're pointed at. And right now, Commander, we're pointed at you. Torres pulled out a small cylindrical device. This is a nanoforge. It can create approximately 300 different types of explosive devices using raw materials. We've placed 12 of these throughout your flagship. They've been manufacturing charges for the last 20 minutes. In about 10 more minutes, your ship will have enough explosives inside it to create what we call a bad day. And before you think about scanning for them, they're shielded, miniaturized, and hidden in places you wouldn't think to look, like your recycling system, or your coffee maker equivalent, or inside that decorative statue in the main corridor that nobody ever looks at. How did you even... Because while you were preening about your ultimatum, we were working. While you were assuming we'd surrender, we were planning. While you were thinking about honor and glory, we were thinking about winning. That's the difference between your military and ours. You prepare for war. We prepare for total victory or mutually assured destruction. And honestly, we're fine with either. Jackson zoomed the hologram out further. Let me show you the bigger picture. Earth is one planet, one species, and we're this paranoid. this armed, this prepared. Now imagine if you actually succeeded in conquering us. What do you think happens next? Do you think we'd submit? Do you think we'd integrate peacefully into your empire? We'd become the galaxy's nightmare, Chen said gleefully. We'd learn your technology, we'd steal your ships, we'd infiltrate your systems. Within a generation, we'd have humans in every corner of your empire, and they'd all be learning your weaknesses. Within 2 generations, we'd have a resistance movement that would make your historians weep. Within 3 generations, you wouldn't have an empire anymore. You'd have a civil war featuring humans on every side because we're excellent at finding exploitable divisions. Webb nodded. We're really good at insurgencies. Scarily good. We've fought them. We've created them. We've studied them. We know how to make an occupation so expensive and painful that the occupier gives up and goes home. We know how to turn your own population against you. We know how to make you hate every single day you decided to invade us. But here's the thing, Torres said, her voice returning to that pleasant, conversational tone that was somehow more terrifying than the threats. We don't want to do any of that. We don't want war with your empire. We don't want to kill your soldiers or destroy your ships or turn your civilization into a cautionary tale. We just want you to leave us alone. So here's our diplomatic proposal, Rodriguez said. You leave. Right now. You go back to your empire and tell them that Earth is inhabited by a species that's friendly when left alone, but absolutely psychotic when threatened. You tell them that humans are not worth the trouble. You tell them that we have weapons you can't imagine, tactics you can't predict, and a level of spite that defies rational analysis. Patterson finally released his dead man switch, and the device stopped beeping. Or, alternatively, you can refuse, and we can demonstrate everything we've been talking about. Your choice. Democracy in action. We love choices. We love them so much that we've spent most of our history fighting wars about the right to make choices. Zephrix looked at each human in turn. They all stared back with expressions ranging from Torres's professional calm to Chen's barely suppressed excitement to Webb's complete indifference to anything resembling mercy. You would really destroy your own species rather than surrender, he asked. In a heartbeat, all 6 humans said simultaneously. There was something deeply, fundamentally broken about the way they said it. Not broken in a damaged way, but broken in a we have moved beyond normal biological survival imperatives way. These were creatures who had looked at the universe's rules and decided they were more like suggestions. Callus was frantically typing on his datapad. Sir, I'm reading more of the psychological profile. It says humans have a concept called dying on a hill. It means choosing a position or principle and refusing to abandon it even if it costs your life. They consider this admirable. We have hills we've died on, Jackson confirmed. Metaphorical ones, sometimes literal ones. We're big fans of hills and principles and dying for them. It's kind of our thing. We also have a saying, Chen added, from an old Earth philosopher named Patrick Henry. He said, give me liberty or give me death. That sums us up pretty well. We'll take freedom or oblivion, but we won't take subjugation. It's not in our programming. Torres checked her wrist device again. Commander, you have approximately 30 seconds to make a decision. After that, General Martinez is authorized to begin what we call Plan B, the galaxy's worst Tuesday. I've read Plan B. I helped write Plan B. I'm terrified of Plan B, and I'm on the side that created it. What? What is Plan B? You don't want to know. Seriously. It involves things we pulled from our science fiction, tested to see if they worked, discovered they worked, and immediately classified as, let's never speak of this again. The fact that we're willing to use it should tell you how serious we are. Zephrix looked at his honor guard again. They were still immobile, still processing the fact that these 6 humans had walked onto a Valorian flagship and taken complete control of the situation without firing a single shot. You would sacrifice your entire species to stop us? He asked one more time, needing to hear it again, needing to believe that any species could be this collectively insane. Torres smiled that terrible smile again. Commander, we've almost destroyed ourselves at least 4 times in the last century alone. Nuclear weapons, climate change, engineered diseases, and we had one close call involving artificial intelligence that we don't talk about because it's still classified. We know how to apocalypse. We've practiced. We're familiar with the steps. We just haven't found an excuse good enough to follow through. She leaned in close. Don't be our excuse. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. 20, 30. Finally, Zephrix's shoulders slumped. We will withdraw. Excellent choice, Torres said brightly, the terrifying intensity vanishing instantly and being replaced by genuine cheerfulness. See, diplomacy works. We're great at diplomacy. Some of our best friends are diplomats. Well, not us specifically. We're soldiers, but as a species, we're very diplomatic. You will remove your weapons from our ships. Already done, Patterson said, pulling out his datapad. The nanoforges have been remotely deactivated and will dissolve into harmless carbon dust within the hour. The nuclear devices were never real. They were sophisticated sensor ghosts designed to mimic radiation signatures. We figured you wouldn't call that bluff, and the hacking was real, but we'll give you your systems back. Think of it as a learning experience. Everything was a bluff? Callis whispered in horror. Oh no, Rodriguez corrected. The weapons were a bluff. Our willingness to use kinetic kill vehicles, orbital railguns, nuclear submarines, and approximately 8 billion annoyed humans was completely real. We just prefer to win without fighting. We're not savages. We just play them on TV. Webb handed Zephrix a data chip. This contains a complete analysis of your military structure, including the weaknesses we identified. Consider it a gift. Free consulting. We recommend updating your encryption, diversifying your command structure, and maybe investing in some armor that's more function than form. Why would you help us? Zephrix asked, baffled. Because we don't want to be enemies, Torres said simply. We want to be left alone to continue our weird little existence on our weird little planet. But if you come back, if any species comes back and tries this again, we'll be ready. And next time, we won't be this nice. Chen pulled up one final hologram. Here's our proposal for future relations. You leave us alone. We leave you alone. If you need help with something, ask nicely and we might consider it. If you want to trade, bring goods and a respectful attitude. If you want to talk, send actual diplomats, not military fleets. And if you attack us, we will introduce your civilization to concepts like total war, scorched earth, and cultural spite that lasts millennia. We accept, Zephrix said quickly. The Empire will mark your system as restricted space. No Valorian ship will enter without explicit permission. Perfect. See, this is what we call a win-win scenario, Torres said. You get to keep your empire and your dignity, mostly, and we get to continue our peaceful existence filled with reality television, questionable food choices, and arguing about literally everything. The 6 humans began to leave. At the airlock, Torres turned back. Oh, one more thing, Commander. Tell your empire that Earth is willing to share some technology. Medical advances, agricultural techniques, clean energy solutions. We're not isolationist. We're just selective about our company. Show up with respect next time, and we'll show up with cooperation. Show up with threats, and, well, you know what happens then. I will convey your message, Zephrix said. Great. And hey, sorry about the whole terrifying you thing. It's not personal. It's just what we do. We have anxiety about alien civilizations destroying us, so we overcompensate by being scarier than we have any right to be. It's a whole thing. We're working on it in therapy. The humans left. The airlock closed. Zephrix stood in silence for a long moment. Sir, Callis ventured. Orders? We're leaving, Zephrix said quietly, and we're never coming back. But sir, the Empire, our honor, the conquest. Callus, did you hear anything those humans said? Zephrix turned to face his second-in-command. They have bombs filled with smaller bombs. They turned wolves into pugs. They almost destroyed themselves 4 times and considered it practice. They have 8 billion individuals who would rather die than submit. They have weapons they won't use on each other because they're too terrible, but they'll use them on us. He gestured at the view screen showing Earth in the distance, that blue and green world that looked so peaceful from orbit. That planet down there is a pressure cooker of evolution, competition, and weaponized insanity. They spent 6,000 years fighting themselves and learning every possible way to win, and now they have space technology. Do you understand what that means? Callus was silent. It means we found them at the worst possible time. Give them another 100 years and they'll be a galactic power. Give them 200 and they'll be unstoppable. Give them 500 and they'll be teaching other species how to fight like humans, and then the entire galaxy will be exactly as paranoid and heavily armed as they are. So what do? We leave them alone. We mark their system as forbidden. We tell the Empire that Earth is inhabited by a species best observed from a very great distance. And we hope, we pray, that they stay on their planet and focus their energies on internal development rather than external expansion. And if they don't? Zephrix looked at his second-in-command with an expression of someone who had seen the future and found it terrifying. Then the galaxy will learn what humanity learned over 6,000 years of warfare, that fighting is easy, but fighting humans is a nightmare. They don't just want to win, they want to win so completely that you never think about fighting them again. They want to turn combat into a cautionary tale. The Valorian fleet left Sol's system exactly 3 hours later. They jumped to hyperspace and never returned. Back on Earth, General Rebecca Martinez sat in a command center watching the alien fleet disappear from their sensors. Around her, the diplomatic team was filing reports. Did we overdo it? Chen asked, munching on a sandwich that she'd somehow acquired in the last 10 minutes. Maybe a little, Martinez admitted. But it worked. They're gone. And according to our communications intercepts, they're absolutely not coming back. Think they believed the nuclear device thing? Webb asked. They did, until Patterson deactivated them. Good work on those sensor ghosts, by the way. Very convincing. The kinetic kill vehicles were real, though, right? Rodriguez asked. Oh, completely real. We actually built those. Seemed like a good investment. Never know when you'll need to throw very fast rocks at someone. Torres looked at the general. Permission to speak freely, ma'am? Granted. Were we really prepared to go to Plan B? Martinez was quiet for a moment. Captain Torres. Plan B was drawn up by a committee of military strategists, scientists, and at least one science fiction author. It involves things that made the Joint Chiefs uncomfortable. So yes, if it came down to it, we would have gone to Plan B. Because the one thing that Team of Aliens was absolutely right about is that humans will choose extinction over subjugation. That's kind of dark, ma'am. That's humanity, Captain. We're a species that looked at the universe and said, we're going to survive this even if it kills us. It doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to. It just has to work. Jackson pulled up a star map. Think there are other species out there like the Valorians? Probably, Martinez said. And they'll probably make the same mistake. They'll see one planet, one species, and think we're easy targets. They won't understand that we're not strong because we're